Good.
All right.
And we're live. And we're live. Hello, everyone. Hello. Please join us here at Fabulous nOps event. Okay. If there is anything or everything you want to know about FinOps today, this is the place and time. So while we're gathering, please just follow nOps just to get it out of the way on LinkedIn and everywhere you're watching us. So please make sure you are following the fabulous team, the fabulous knowledge and wisdom that's being shared there every day on cloud computing, on cloud cost optimization, on FinOps discipline, and how nOps can help on your journey. So today, I'm extremely excited. JT Giri is with me. JT, how are you?
Hi, Irene. How are you? I'm
I'm doing
good.
fantastic. I'm so happy to start this new series on nApps, nApps LinkedIn Live. So we will be running a few events. So please follow nApps right now. You will know so much more at the end of this session comparing to what you knew when you entered. So, JT, so we're gonna talk about FinOps on nApps, but you know what? It's a journey. It's a journey. So why don't we get going on how clients are looking to benefit from cloud cost optimization? Why FinOps? And we quickly get about to the greatest platform on earth. So FinOps 2023. Can you kind of give us leadway? Yeah, what's happening today?
Yeah, as you probably heard this, Irene, in the state of current economy, everyone is, very much focused and motivated to, make sure there is better accountability and there's, better cost optimization. And everyone's trying to reduce costs, so everyone's looking for ways to optimize their cloud spend. And to my knowledge, like FinOps is probably one of the only ways it gives you some foundation. It gives you a framework that you can take and implement it in your organization. So you know like what we see, which is no surprise, in the industry right now, is like everyone is focused on optimizing their cloud spend, and FinOps is like the number one priority. Implementing FinOps in companies, organization, in organizations is the top priority. I have, sometimes I interact with CFOs and CEOs, and it's a common request, and it's a common sort of objective from the C-level executives, like, hey, we need to reduce our cost by 50%. We need to get a handle of our overall cloud spending. So that seems to be that's what I'm seeing. I think this is where most of the companies will focus on this year, like implementing FinOps, starting on the FinOps journey, getting better handle of their cloud spend.
Fantastic, fantastic. One more word to our audience, okay? As you join, please let us know in the comments, okay? Where are you in your cloud FinOps journey? Because we want to know if you're just considering FinOps discipline. Maybe you're a practitioner already. Maybe you are crawling or walking or even running in the organization. We really want to know about your experience because JT here and myself will try to answer your questions to the best of our abilities. So please, let's make it interactive and engaging session. And again, send this link to your groups, to your colleagues, to your friends, everyone who is interested in cloud computing, because frankly, nowadays, cloud computing without cloud cost consideration and optimization is really a spiraling journey. So why don't we start with basic, JT, maybe cloud cost, okay? Should companies and leaders thinking about it first, proactively, or it's kind of free for all? Let's just try to experiment and see how that goes.
Yeah, I think that's how it kind of started, right? But right now, everyone is working on getting a better handle, and especially, like I said, you know, whatever happening in the economy is driving that, right? There's a lot of interest in getting a better accountability better visibility as well, right? One of the things we do at nOps is like, we allow people to put a business view on every dollar spent on AWS, right? Which is very important. Like the whole reason you move to cloud, the whole reason, we build stuff on cloud, you're trying to solve a problem. And most likely you're trying to solve a problem for your customers, right? You gotta be able to measure that. You gotta be able to say, okay, this particular set of resources are, this is how they impact the customer, right? And so that's like, we see a lot of interest in that, right? Like it used to be, and inherently cloud billing is very complex, right? You have AWS has 200 services. Some of these are billed at like 1 second resolution, so there's like millions of lines of like line items, right? On a like it's AWS like detailed billing. So how do you make sense out of that? And on top of that, it's always changing, right? You have people provisioning resources all the time. So inherently, this is not like it hasn't been an easy problem. It's been kind of like needle in a haystack, trying to make sense of, what is this, like how are we spending money, and what it like, how do you map that to ROI? So there's like FinOps and in just in industry, there's a lot of best practices, like you could do showbacks, and it's a good starting point to kind of see, carve out every single dollar in your AWS spend to make sure what is it, which teams does it map to, and what is the ROI, what are the business outcomes,
Yeah, you mentioned some of the basic capabilities. Why don't we spell it out, for maybe who is new to FinOps? So what are the capabilities companies should look for? Because as you said, it's quite a complex process and journey.
Yeah. So as we know, like FinOps has like three phases, like inform, optimize, and operate. And starting with inform, this is where most of the companies start, right? Just kind of getting a pulse on where you actually stand. In that phase, you're like just allocating all the cloud costs, because what we see in most environments, because it's such a dynamic environment, because it's easy to like sometimes tagging is not right. Sometimes people tag resources incorrectly, right? So step one is like just doing like showbacks, where you're working on allocating every single dollar in your cloud spend to a team, to a project, and that is a good starting point, right? So, and nOps allows you to do that automatically. We create, we make it easy for you to create policies. So like if someone misspelled production with prod, or prod 1, prod 2, we can kind of group them together. So these policies allow you to kind of allocate every single dollar in your cloud spend. And then, the second phase in my mind is like, especially if you were talking about like FinOps, is like optimize, right? And in that phase, I think what I see is like focusing on automation to get quick wins. One of the number one challenges of just adopting FinOps in general is making engineers take action, right? Like empowering engineers to take actions. And the reason why I think engineers don't take action, we need to have empathy towards engineers. Like why is it hard, right? It's hard because let's say you want to optimize your RI utilization, you want to maximize your RI coverage in on AWS. It is actually not an easy job, right? Engineers should focus on innovation. They should not be spending time learning AWS pricing plan, right? So so I think the the key sort of takeaway is like we gotta focus on automation, right? We gotta provide experiences to engineers so it is easy to take action, so it is easy to take ownership and accountability of the cloud spend.
Yep. We have a comment over here. An app's helpful to save money. Great. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jory, if I'm not butchering your name. Yes, thank you so much for being here with us. So, addressing to the audience, ask us questions, okay? If there's something that JT can help with at the moment, we're happy to answer live or follow up with you. So, please leave us your location, leave us where you're joining, because we want to know the geography. We want to know where actually FinOps, how FinOps is making strides across the globe, and we know their customers in India, in Europe, and US, and wherever else. So please let us know where you're from. JT, this is fabulous. You mentioned engineers, okay, and you mentioned how they love to experiment. Okay, that's not new. They became engineers because they love that feeling of creating new stuff, of playing with stuff, right? And accountability is something that kind of pushed on them. How do you see this going right now out there on marketplace? Because okay, some probably is more accountable than others.
Yeah, I think in my opinion engineers are good at like building stuff, right? That's why they're engineers, like you mentioned, right? They're good at solving tough problems. But the skill set of optimizing these cloud services is a totally different skill set in my opinion. The more time they spend on like understanding AWS pricing plans, and the more time they spend on just figuring out how they're going to optimize their spend, um, that's like less time working on innovation, right? So I believe that engineers should focus on innovation, and companies should leverage tooling and that brings automation, right? And automation to optimize their spend, automation to create better showbacks. Yes, there's still going to be some engineering efforts, to implement some of these solutions, but I think it's far less than just engineers, trying to just dig and understand how AWS pricing plans work, or trying to see, what are some of the resources that we can like shut down, non-peak hours, and trying to fine tune auto scaling groups, for example, right? I mean that all those activities require a lot of time. So one of the things we do at nOps is like, like for example, we automatically, learn your usage pattern, and we try to optimize your auto scaling groups. We leverage machine learning, and we find group of resources that could be like paused, or stopped, non-peak hours, right? And let's be honest, like one of the main reason we moved to cloud is because of that capability, right? You can throttle it down when you don't need resources, and you scale up when you do need resources, right? So we're just, as I like to say, we're putting E back to the elasticity, where like leveraging machine learning, and just focus on how do we make it easy so engineers don't have to spend a lot of time in order to take actions on adopting FinOps. How do we make that experience easier and easier?
Yep, absolutely, because it's got to be almost intuitive and native to our working nature, right? So that we don't want to take energy out of engineers, while they're being more accountable. We really need the capabilities that actually making them better than what they are, because no one wants to overspend. Okay, how about that? Simple nature, it just happens because of course, you mentioned it's a complex process. So, what are the major cost contributors, JT, from your experience? What kind of people should watch out for?
Yeah, I was gonna touch on like no one wants to over like spend, right, on that comment. I
Mhm.
think right now, most of the time engineers don't even have that feedback loop.
Mm-hmm.
on how much these resources costing them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So one of the, I think one of the keys to adopting FinOps and just building better accountability culture in your organization is to provide that feedback loop, you know. And it's amazing once you provide that feedback loop to your engineers, amazing things happen, right? Like you said, like no one is like saying, "Hey, my goal is to provision the biggest instance and spend the most amount of money." I truly believe because that feedback loop is missing, maybe there's like sometime, there's over provisioning, and things like that. And also like workload needs change all the time, right? Like maybe you provision resources at higher capacity in the beginning, but once you have the usage data, maybe now we need to like, downsize it, right? That's once again the whole idea of cloud is, you go up and down based on your application needs, right? So one of the ways to address that problem is to, leverage showbacks where, every dollar spent in your cloud has some kind of business view, right? Like how, what projects are we running, and how does this map to the ROI and customer outcomes? So sorry to like maybe derail a little bit, but your question was how, what are the major ways people are like, maybe overspending, in
Yeah,
cloud,
the
right?
cost contributors, right? What are the factors and how to manage them? Mhm.
Yeah, I think so. One of the models we have here at nOps is like, pay less and use less. So I'll break it down in these two categories, right? So you have, your baseline, you're running your cloud environment, and one of the ways you can optimize that spend is, buy reserve instances, saving plans, and things like that. We call it pay less. So you're already paying AWS, then there's ways you can, with leveraging saving plans and reserve instances, you can pay less. But it's an incredibly hard thing to do, right? You have to, anytime you commit to a technology, let's say you commit to a particular instance type in AWS, now you're like, you're betting on that technology. The whole idea is like in cloud, like things change all the time, right? So we see, people spend a lot of time like understanding, like what kind of reserve instances they should buy. Sometimes they undercommit, sometimes they overcommit, then they have to monitor it. So that's one opportunity we see where customers end up spending like, leaving a lot of money on the table. And then, on the use less side, which is the whole promise of cloud, right? You go up and down whenever based on your business needs. We see, there's a lot of resources that are like over provision, but maybe it was a good idea at that time, but it's just there's no like easy way to just like continuously right size as the usage patterns change of the application. We see, uh, like waste sometime, unused resources, and things like that. And honestly, there are resources that could be shut down, when they're not needed. So, when you combine those things, right, like, it just everything adds up, in cloud. So those are the areas where we see a lot of potential to optimize cloud spend.
Definitely, definitely. What about anomaly detection? All right, because you mentioned some of the things, some of the instances overrunning and people not even realizing it. All right. So how apps help with anomaly detection and basically notification the appropriate engineers and teams that that trouble is about to happen.
Yeah, so one of the things we do, we just learn your usage pattern and we make recommendations, right? So let's say when it comes to auto scaling group, we leverage, we look at the data, and we're constantly kind of learning like what is the usage pattern of this auto scaling group, and based on what we learned, we're able to propose like here's the configuration, and here's how much money you could save. And like when you project some of these savings on an annualized basis, it's like significant amount of savings, right? So in some cases, like there's one customer, we're like on track to save them like $1 million. We saved them $1 million last year. We're gonna save them close to $1 million this year, right? So like we leverage machine learning in a different way, where we're just learning and learning the usage pattern. Then we're making a recommendation on like how you should size these resources. And we leverage, Irene, we leverage automation quite a bit, so that last step of actually taking action, doing the actual thing to reduce the cost, we make that very, very easy. We spend a lot of time making that experience a lot easier. So we not only we leverage anomaly detection and ML, we also focus on automation to make it easy to take action. And in our case, we leverage Event Bridge from AWS quite a bit to make changes in customers' environment.
All right, Jyoti Sharma, thank you very much for staying with us here. I know everyone's very busy in their work life. Jyoti is joining us from Lithuania. That's fabulous. And here's the comment. It's taking time to go through the budget of every resource in AWS. JT, is this relevant? Is this something that you find, your team is facing every day? So budget of every resource in AWS, how time consuming is it?
Yeah, budgets are difficult in a cloud environment, just because it's a moving target, right? Uh, like you can provision a new region. We see that often. You can, like, your usage could go high, right? And and you spread that out across, like, many companies have hundreds of accounts, and you have different teams. And so it just makes it difficult. Also, you have shared costs, right? So you have, let's say you have bandwidth costs that needs to be spread out to multiple teams. So you got to be able to allocate that across different teams, and then create a budget for that. So it's a little bit of challenging problem in a cloud environment. So how you solve it? One of the best ways to do it is doing showbacks, where you create policies, and then you allocate every single dollar in your AWS bill. And then the second thing is, like, you like take all the shared costs, like bandwidth costs and other shared services, and you allocate like 20% that to this team, 40% of that to this team, and then and things like that. So it just makes it super easy to uh, once you allocate the cost, it makes it easier to create budgets and things like that.
All right. Is it just like a fault tolerance?
Yeah, I think this is now relevant to FinOps. I mean,
It is not. Got it. Got it.
yeah.
Yep. Thank you. So ask us questions. All right. Comment. And you know what? Get started with FinOps on nOps right now. So we have this ticking link over here. Okay. It's very easy. www.nops.io. Get started. All right. There's plenty of resources there, plenty of customer stories, and just everything you want to know or need to know at the moment. So JT, we are making great progress with our session. All right. When we have more time over there, if there are some best practices you want to share, because I know your team is learning with every project, with every client, you're implementing nOps capabilities at. So what are the best practices in terms of get going for the clients, continuing, and actually successfully, iteratively continuing on the journey to reach the results?
Yeah, I think we kind of touched on it a couple of times. I think one of the best ways I see companies succeed adopting FinOps and just driving accountability across organization for the cloud spend is to leverage automation. I really think automation is the key here. Yeah, I mean, you can't do everything with automation. I understand that, but it allows you to take, you can have you have some quick wins, right? And then that creates momentum. So, I highly recommend, companies to leverage tools like nOps that provide a best way to one of the easier way to get you going, right? We do automatic showbacks. We have functionality, a lot of automation to optimize your RI utilization. We're constantly monitoring your account to kind of see, um, like when the resources could be paused. We're constantly optimizing your auto scaling groups and things like that. So best practices for me from me would be to leverage automation more, get those quick wins, get the momentum going. Yeah.
Beautiful. We have comment here from Ikra Javed. Again, I'm probably butchering the name. Thank you so much for joining. So it's amazing to how FinOps establish a cost management strategy to utilize automation and data analysis. Also, it utilizes cloud cost management tools to track costs. Okay, this is a mouthful. Thank you for commenting. JT, in terms of cloud cost management, all right, we talked about optimization and we talked about anomalies and we talked about roles of engineers in the process, right? What about overall strategy? How companies should think about overall cloud cost management strategy? And what do you think, again, where do you think nOps fits in? Because to me, it's a perfect match. Mhm.
Yeah, as we mentioned earlier, one of the biggest challenges in FinOps adoption is like, how do you make it easy so engineers how do you empower engineers so it's easy for them to take action, right? I think my advice is like, you know, and like we have to provide similar experience. We have to provide easy experience for engineers so they can easily take actions, right? Uh, and this is one of the areas we focus our energy on. We spend a lot of time building uh, like easy experience for engineers, so it's very intuitive to take action, and so that will be my advice, Irene. Like leverage automation, get quick wins, right? Um, one of one of the best starting point is to do like showbacks and allocate all the costs. And once you go through that exercise, you learn so much, about what are the areas you can focus on to reduce your costs or optimize your spend on an AWS environment.
All right. So we talked a lot about capabilities, JT. We talked about journey. We didn't talk about teams, okay? Because in my experience, technology is not making any progress unless people are on board, okay? And teams are built the right way. So FinOps Foundation advises on the principle of how to start on the journey and what kind of team resources minimal or medium size companies would need. So what's your opinion where FinOps team should fit? Because we know there got to be engineering resources, right? Business and product owners in the loop, right? Executives, financial departments, procurement, right? All the complex kind of ecosystem within the company. So how FinOps team can reach the most results while communicating with all the different stakeholders?
Yeah, I think one of the areas we focus on, Irene, we empower these FinOps teams, right? So there's a lot of good resources on FinOps organizations where people have shared their experience on how they went on this FinOps journey. One of the things we try to do is how can we provide better tooling? How can we empower these different FinOps personas, whether that be like a FinOps practitioner or finance and procurement. So we spend a lot of time thinking about the pain points of these personas, and we build tooling and experience so just to make their life easier. So that's what we focus on. It's incredible to see the success we're having.
Absolutely, absolutely. Again, if you're listening, if you're watching the replay, follow nOps, because there's fantastic growth there on LinkedIn. I'm a huge fan. There are valuable resources out there. There are fantastic client stories, and frankly, new capabilities and new updates to the clients over there. So please follow nOps right now or right after the event. Again, let us know. Let us know what's your FinOps journey and what might be of interest to you. JT, in conclusion, why don't we leave our audience with few takeaways? Because we touched on a lot of moving parts on FinOps journey, and you mentioned the part that nOps will be playing in client's journey. So what kind of takeaway we want to leave our audience with?
Yeah, I think just start small, leverage automation and get some quick wins. Leverage nOps. We focus on automation, and it's a good starting point, right? And my advice will be to keep providing experience to your engineering teams, so it's easy for them to take actions and take accountability on their cloud spend. In my opinion, nOps does that really well. So yeah, that would be my recommendation, Irene.
Excellent. And call to action, JT, right? We're saying get started. But if we have clients on the line already the nOps clients and users, so what's next step for them? What's call to action?
Sign up or reach out. We're always here to help.
Sign up right now, because there's fabulous experts, fabulous leaders I got to know over past few months over there at nOps. They're energetic, they're knowledgeable, and they're passionate about client success. So reach out to the nOps team. It's so easy on LinkedIn or everywhere you're watching us. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining. Tune in next week, every Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. We're here to talk with leaders, with experts, with FinOps Foundation ambassadors. Okay, so we're going to be spreading the news, we're going to be spreading the knowledge about FinOps and the journey customers are making. Thank you so very much for joining, JT. Thank you very much.
Thank you.